The quest for the perfect Darth Vader. 1/12 scale. And it's not an easy quest. You would think it would be. We waited years and years and years for a 1/12 scale Star Wars line. And now that we do have a 6-inch Star Wars line, every company, well, has it been every company? Most companies have given us their version of Darth Vader. Some great, some not so great, but bottom line, there are options out there. And I swear, I was planning on making this video last night, only to wake up this morning and see a magazine scan of Bandai soliciting a newer Darth Vader. Looks like it's coming out in October. They're calling it the Return of the Jedi version. I think because they're adding, well, like they did with the model kits, they're adding in an unmasked Vader head with it. But for the most part, and for the sake of this ultimate Vader showdown, it looks like mostly reuse from the A New Hope Vader that they just gave us, was it last year? It's been recently. There may be some mods to the helmet. The eyes look a little bit bigger. The snout doesn't look as pronounced. And really when it comes down to it, and as we'll see in a minute, that's probably, well, okay, that's one of my bigger problems with that Figuarts figure, but we'll talk about that here in a second. And a little groundwork for this showdown. Now, I know everybody has their... You can look at pictures of Vader all day, and two different people can look at the same picture and go, oh, arms are too skinny. Nope, I disagree. He looks a little thick in the torso. I disagree with that too. I think it's just perfect. You're going to get a little bit of bias. Everybody has their own mental image of what Darth Vader looks like. He's just been around too much. We've seen him in too many forms of media. It's just, it's stuck. It's hard to avoid. There's nothing wrong with that. That kind of makes it the ultimate Robo's version of Darth Vader Showdown. But at the same time, I'm just looking at action figures. That's what it breaks down to. Also, I'm allowing custom work to a figure, but it kind of falls into the parameters of what that figure is in the first place. Just so you know. So when you get to it, it's like, what? I can't have mine like that. You can. It just takes a little bit more work. Also, I'm not judging these figures by the unmasked heads. They don't all have them, and I can't seem to find a couple of... Where'd I put those things? I think I have most of the Vaders released so far from most of the companies, but I never picked up the first Bandai S.H. Figuarts Darth Vader. Even at the time, you could tell it was kind of small, and then later during reviews, it was definitely too small. It looks like a kid cosplaying as Darth Vader with his dad. Dad, am I doing a good job being Darth Vader? You're doing good, son. Also, I never picked up the Medicom MAFEX Revenge of the Sith version. It was essentially reuse of the first MAFEX Darth Vader, only with the Revenge of the Sith unmasked Anakin head. And then lastly, even though it doesn't make a lot of difference here, I never got the MAFEX hologram version either. Getting into it, there's 8 figures that I have to compare to pick the best, but I figured it would be easier to do it by brackets. So we're going to go 2 at a time, compare there, the winner moves on, and then they compare there, and then we'll get up to the final winner, maybe. We'll see how this goes. To start, it only seems fair to go back to the beginning of the Star Wars 1/12 line, and that would be the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Darth Vader version 1, and then their later 40th anniversary version. Now you'll notice the missing cape. That goes back to the mod I talked about, but I always knew that this one wouldn't win. I always thought it looks kind of slumpy, kind of dumpy, kind of wide, but man, the sad walrus head, there's just no getting around that. It just looks... Compare that to the 40th anniversary Vader, and... There's a lot of reuse here. That's, I guess, why I've gotten used to the body a little bit. But they fixed a couple of things. They put the bigger chest box on here. They fixed the belt boxes here. They put a new head on it. And I think out of everything, that's what improves this figure the most. The head is just leaner. It's meaner. It looks more like what we saw in the movie. They also kind of did the silver on the mask like the original movie it helps differentiate the different parts of the helmet. Articulation-wise, on that original Vader, you could get to 90 with the elbow because it's a hinge and swivel. Double knee got you most of the way up, and then just all around, it's not bad. There's another problem with that original Vader. The helmet just likes to pop off. Yes, there's an Anakin head under there. You put it down, you can still see gap. It's just very easy to boop. With the 40th, about 92 on the elbow. Same thing down here at the leg. But the helmet here stays together. It's one piece. It's not going anywhere. Cloth goods are comparable, about the same thickness. It kind of looks like bed sheets just laying on them, but at the same time, it works here. It drapes. It's nice. It's a little bit heavy. It's not as nice as what we'll see in a minute, but it works for what it is, a $20 action figure. Both of them stand at about 6 3/4 inches. I'm going to be using the Figuarts Farm Boy Luke for scale comparison. Between all the all the characters from the different lines, it's Luke that's most consistent between them. The Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Luke is about the same size, same proportions. The later Figuarts Jedi Luke, same size, same proportions. So just using it here, it looks pretty good. These guys are bigger, they're thicker. I feel like that's where they're supposed to be. But between these two, there is a clear winner, and it's not just because he's missing the cape. Better helmet, better overall look, the bigger chest box, it just looks good for Darth Vader. So the winner, the Hasbro 40th anniversary. Okay, this one may raise some eyebrows, or if you're a fan of Kaiyodo, I'm about to piss you off. Here's the Bandai S.H Figuarts A New Hope Darth Vader compared to the Kaiyodo Revoltech Star Wars Revo Darth Vader. Now, I just opened this last night. I've never felt the greatest urge to get him out of the box, but I felt for the sake of all this comparison that he needed to be free. And I have my problems with the Figuarts, but this is just one big chunk of unfun plastic. You notice I do have them on a stand. I cannot get this thing to stand up, and even that doesn't work half the time. Just for the sake of I have him standing at the moment, here is the height. Stands at, well, 6 3/4 abouts. And here they are compared to the Figuarts Luke. Looking at the Figuarts, the helmet, it's definitely Darth Vader. You're not going to pass him on the street and go, oh, who are you supposed to be? But it does look off. The snout sticks out a little further than most of the other Vaders. And then those of you who hate the chain, there's that. Cloth cape, it is wired, but it's not the strongest wire in the world. It just kind of falls down. So it's more for shaping down at as it lays. The mid-torso, when you look at it, they left it open for range of movement here, but it kind of looks just open. Get up there. It just kind of looks open and gappy. Some people have fixed this by putting on cloth robes to fix the problem down here, and that's kind of traffic cone syndrome. They're rubbery, so you can't get kneeling position. And I'm not the biggest fan of a mix in media between the rubber lower robe and then the cloth cape. But when we get to the MAFEX, I'll totally go back on that statement. And then just the range of movement, you get past 90 at the elbow. And then the robe's in the way, but you can kind of get the knee between the split back there. Goes up most of the way. But this thing, if you watch any of my Revoltech reviews, you know I already hate the segmented capes. And this, they're attached together in weird places. You can pull them apart, but why put that joint in the first place? It's just move. The inner robes are the same way. There's just a random Revoltech joint sticking off this one. I know it plugs in there, but why? Then this leg right here is just loose. You can see it bent curves at the knee. There's a Revoltech joint at the waist. There's Revoltech. It's a standard Revoltech. Just Revoltech joints all over. There's clickiness. There's tightness. And because they're black, it's hard to see which way they bend. I will say that when you do get the joints moved on this thing, it does have more range of movement than the rest, but it's so back heavy that it's not going to go anywhere. Saying all that though, I know this mask is not accurate, but there's something kind of McQuarrie about it, something kind of angry about it, and it's because the eyes are up inside this top helmet. It looks like a brow, and he's just like, ugh. So stylistically, far from accurate, but kind of cool. But between these two, you know where I'm going with this. Bandai definitely wins. This Revoltech, I never want to mess with again. Next, we get into Bandai model kit territory. Here is the first version of the Bandai Star Wars model kit Darth Vader, and here's a later version of that same kit that they dubbed Return of the Jedi version. And this is where the Black Series version 1 cape ended up. I just like that cape. It's got some weight right here on the corners that helps it drop down to drape fairly realistically. But then I came in with a third-party kit and put a new inner robe underneath to free up the legs. But then on the later kit, they came in with a rubbery material. Well, okay, let's get something out of the way right off the bat. Here is the cape and robes that this kit originally had. A hard candy shell cape, same for the inner robe right there. That right there completely killed what articulation they gave the figure. And some people may not even call these figures because they're model kits. You have to put work into them. Some people, and they're not action figures. Those are models. Those don't count. They're 12-inch scale. They're Darth Vader. I count them. The shell had to go. Must not lick the blueberry Jolly Rancher. No. But on version 2, instead of the hard candy shell, they gave us a more rubbery material. As the lines went on, they've been kind of trying things out, innovating a little bit. Some things work, some things don't. Here, people that hate soft goods, this may be your preference. Even the lower robes are made out of rubber. They kind of get funky right there. They want to open up whenever you get any kind of movement to them. But they look okay. Also, in this one, I shot it with some dull coat. You can see here on the original kit, everything is so shiny and details get lost in the reflection of light off the helmet. Not so much here, but it did kind of splotch up. I'm going to have to give it another coat, I think. But really, basically, when it comes down to it, the model kit Vader helmet, I've seen people use this on all kinds of different figures. Well, all kinds of different Vader figures. A lot of people will agree that it's the best Vader helmet in this scale. And when it comes to the movement on the kit, you can see in neutral position of the leg, there's a double knee joint there, but standing straight up, the joint almost disappears. But when you kick it, it doesn't come quite as far as the Black Series, but I like how they did the knee where it kind of travels around. It doesn't really break up as bad as a standard action figure. And then with the elbows, the forearm kind of kicks away from the elbow, and you can bring it up, well, just a little bit further than 90. And the model kits also feature drop-down hips, so you can get full range of movement forward. On version 2, the rubberiness of the cape does help getting down poses, but if you wanted a kneeling position, this was still going to get in the way. With the cloth add-ons, yeah, that completely gets out of the way. Plus, for some reason, version 2 doesn't want to snap all the way shut on that thigh. Being essentially the same kit, they both stand at 6 3/4 inches tall, which means they're about the same height as the Black Series, and then compared to Figuarts Luke, it looks pretty good. But between these two, disregarding the sheens and everything figure-wise, and because I added the cloth cape, and this will come down to your preference when it comes to cloth or rubber or plastic, but for me, the cloth wins the original look of the Vader. With that, we finally get to the Medicom MAFEX Darth Vader version 1 and the Medicom MAFEX version 2. I don't remember what they call this one, but this one was called the Rogue One version. For the longest time, this was my favorite version, but when this came out, there wasn't as many options as we have now. And a lot of people think the version 2 is just reuse of version 1, but it is a completely brand new figure. On version 1, not the greatest helmet in the world. In fact, a lot of people broke the peg on the top of the helmet right there. It would sit up there and it would spin and come off really easily. Again, you kind of get that longer snout with the smaller face. What it comes down to is his face looks too small inside the helmet. And that's on top of the body being a little bit scrawny. Great movement. I've never had a problem with this figure, but in the long run, yeah, too scrawny. Plus we run into the cloth cape. Its wires are just there for adding a little bit of dynamic movement to it, but then we run into the rubber robe again. It is split in 3 sections this time, so it does get out of the way better, but overall a little bit lanky. And if you don't line up the torso right, you kind of get a beer gut version of Vader. With the Rogue One version, they came back and fixed most of that. It's not overly large. It's not as big as the model kit or even the Black Series. It's still a little bit lanky, but because they enlarged the head, it made everything fit proportionally a little bit better. They also gave him a larger crotch pad. I guess that brings out some definition there. Same wired cape. Again, with the plastic robes down low. And again, that does get in the way, but I don't know. For some reason, with this figure, I give it a lot of leeway. For some reason, with this figure, I'm a lot more forgiving in that aspect. I guess because the rest of it looks so good. Some people may not care too much. Where is it? The red lenses on this helmet? I absolutely love it for some reason. Great articulation, nice elbow movement, the knees. Oh, so close to kicking his own ass. Upper and lower torso gives you great range of movement. Oh no, see, he has that same thing, but they thicken the peg this time around. And when you put it down, in fact, did they shape it? Yeah, it's got a flat side on it. So when you put it on there, it's not going to rotate around. Both of them stand at, big surprise, 6 3/4 inches tall. Here they are with Figuarts Tatooine Luke. And between the two of them, version 2 is just more imposing. It looks better overall, the bigger helmet. They didn't really thicken the limbs, but for some reason they just look better than version 1. And then as you can see, the chest box, they also made a little bit bigger. So definite improvement, and for this round, version 2 takes it. Leaving the MAFEX version 2 in, we'll bring in the Black Series version 2. And round 1 was pretty easy. I knew which ones were going to fall out. But now that we're getting into round 2, and it's getting to more things I like than I dislike, yeah, this is going to be difficult. Comparable in height, you can see that there's a definite difference in sizes of helmets here. Black Series is thicker in the limbs, a little bit more stout, but there's a sleekness to the MAFEX version 2 that, I don't know, it's hard to deny. We already know the elbows get up further on the MAFEX than the Black Series, so articulation is a little bit better, but we're also talking about, what, a $70 action figure compared to a $20 action figure? But it's hard to bring price points into this too, because I'm looking for the best looking Vader for my shelf. So between these two, oh, as much as I like the matching cloth robe and cloth cape on the Black Series, I just feel like this is more streamlined, more dynamic. So MAFEX version 2 knocks out Black Series version 2. Which brings us to Bandai S.H Figuarts version 2 compared to the original Bandai model kit. Bandai versus Bandai! The model kit, a little bit bulkier than the S.H Figuarts, but like I talked about with the helmets, the model kit is just so good. And the S.H Figuarts, while it's Darth Vader, it is not the greatest likeness in the world. Plus, like I said, this is the original Black Series cape. It's got some weight in the corners right here, so it drapes down. It falls over his silhouette. Because of the wire here, and you're gonna hate me when I get back to the MAFEX, the wire here makes it stick out. It's hard to get laid down just all the way. I've got to go with the model kit here. Even though it's modified, I don't like the S.H Figuarts as much as I like this. Which brings us to the final round. Here is the Medicom MAFEX version 2. And here is the Bandai model kit version 1. And this one's the toughest. This is two of my favorite figures overall. I don't even care if they're Darth Vaders, just figures in general, going by what's on the shelf. These are fantastic. I've talked about the capes. It's the same here on the MAFEX. Because of this wire on the front, it likes to stick out. It's hard to get it straight down. But the wires aren't as strong here. The cape is a little bit lighter, but not as nicely draped as this cape I put on here. But looking at it here in the heavy lights, again with the sheen here, which I've modded this far, you can mod even further, you lose detail in the shininess of the model kit. Whereas with the MAFEX, there's different sheens. It's shiny on the helmet, it's a little bit duller in here. Those red damn lenses are fantastic. And the different sheens on the body as you go down. The MAFEX helmet is a little bit smaller, and I feel like it should be this big, but damn it, the MAFEX is just so nice overall. So I've kind of got to give it to the MAFEX Rogue One Darth Vader. Dun, 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 dun. Overall, the MAFEX version 2 does win. I feel like the model kit is second, but the Black Series version 2 is no slouch either, the 40th anniversary. Price point wise, the Black Series is for you. If you want to just spend 20 bucks, move on with your life. If you enjoy modding, if you enjoy building, if you enjoy, well, this is fairly cheap too. If you just enjoy that kind of thing, throwing some paint on there, go for the model kit. But if price doesn't matter, you know where I'm going with this. MAFEX version 2. Now, like I talked about earlier, everybody's got their own wants, needs, desires, their own mental images of Darth Vader. So if you don't agree with this, that's okay. It's fine. Your wants and needs are different than mine. Some of this got it a little bit long-winded. Some of it I kind of rushed through. But at the same time, I'm comparing the same character 8 times over. At the end of the day, you choose what you want, I'll choose what I want. I just thought this would be a fun idea for a video. And we have a lot of Vaders, with another one coming. What? Oh. But if you enjoyed the Ultimate Darth Vader Showdown, comment, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the Fwoosh.